All right, guys, I know you love your snake plants, so do I. So today, let me show you my collection. Okay, so first off, this is the most common snake plant that you will encounter. This is just called the Sansevieria trifacieata, which is now actually a dracaena. So that's a long story. Let's just say they did some genetic analysis, things like that, and determined that the beloved Sansevieria name is no more. It is actually a subvariety of Dracaena, which you may know as the corn plant or the Dracaena marginata, the dragon tree. Don't ask me how, I don't know. They went through some analysis and figured it out. However, getting back to the topic here, this is a very, very, very easy plant to care for. It requires almost no care whatsoever. In fact, too much care is going to kill it. So this plant likes some bright indirect light, as you can tell. The coloration has these nice yellow margins right here, and the quote-unquote snakeskin look that gives the plant its name. This plant will actually multiply by rhizomes. I made a video right here about how to divide your overgrown snake plant. So this is the same one that I've just kind of put it back, and it's filled back out. And another thing about the snake plants like this, they're really not going to start getting much taller till they're really root bound, okay? I don't know, it's just how they grow, okay? But you know, these plants can get 3, 4, or 5 feet tall, okay, in nature, where they don't have to worry about cold and things like that. But in a house plant, this is what you want. You want a low maintenance house plant that you can take care of with very little effort. You know, you water it once a month, maybe once every 2 weeks. I bring this outside in the summertime. It does just fine in some shadier areas. Do not put this in the full sun, as it will actually burn the plants, which I have done in the past. So let's go ahead and look at what else is on the tour. Okay, so next up is the variety called Moonshine. Okay, sometimes you might hear it called Moonlight, just depending on the variety. But this is just like the last plant, the trifacieata, but the coloration on it, this is a hybrid, is bred to have these nice silvery leaves on it like that. So this is just a variation of what I just showed you. However, it does offer a little bit of variety. Now, I mentioned earlier about the bright light. Now look right here. See this leaf right here? This is what happens if you get too much direct sunlight outdoors on one of these plants, okay? That's what you need to worry about, sun scald or sun burning of the leaves. So people might think that this is it's a cactus or it's a succulent. It doesn't need to be watered that very much. Guys, don't put this out in the bright indirect sunlight like that. It's gonna scorch the leaves. So do give this a little bit more shade. You will be appreciating just how well it grows. Now, as a matter of course, I kind of need to put this in a more of a shallower pot, like I just showed you that one, as the plant does grow laterally without very much of a deep, necessary for like a big deep pot. Okay, so this plant is probably going to get repotted. But if I can show you right here inside of the plant, check this out. Like right here, you can see this nice rhizome. Now this is the mother plant, the original. It kind of comes over like this, and then it puts down, rhizome, and another plant then grows out of it. And if I can find it here again, there was another one that was just popping up through the soil. It's right here, as you can see, but it is actually touching the side of the pot, so it doesn't have anywhere else to go. So it's going to start getting really crowded. So that's why I encourage you to use a shallower, more round, flat pot as opposed to a standard flower pot like this. So let's go ahead and see what else is on this Sansevieria. I'm going to keep saying it, even though I know it's Dracaena. Hard to break old habits. The snake plant tour. All right, now there are many varieties of the Cylindrica variety. The Cylindrica involving very cylinder or a narrow with no leaf, no branching type of plant. Now these will actually get fatter roots and kind of get really, really big. Okay, so these are commonly sold at like your big box stores or things like that as just cheap little succulent plants. Now, if you didn't know, these will get massive, okay? These will actually become very, very big plants in the wild, maybe not inside of your house for that matter. But I did learn one interesting fact, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, so if it is, please fact check me and let me know in the comments down below. But do you see these little, these spears that they call them? Now, in the horticulture trade, I've seen that they take long pieces and they'll actually just cut the tip off and just put them in a clump into a pot and then sell them. So is getting kind of the illusion that this is a small house plant or a small little succulent plant you can put in your windowsill, something like that. So I'm not sure, but you know what? I watched a lot of footage on this, and I'm pretty sure that this actually has some merit. So it's not really that glamorous, It does spread through rhizomes like all the other snake plants will. But, you know, it's a really nice plant if you want just something for a really small, like your desk or a little windowsill. You don't want a giant plant like the trifacieata or the Moonshine or the Moonlight. This is going to be something more compact you can kind of add to your collection. So let me show you something else that's not nearly as big, however, I think is much cooler. Now this name, I'm not making this up. This is called the Fernwood Mikado. Now I'm wondering if that has something to do with where it was located, if Mikado might be the name of the scientist or the village or something. I don't know, but I actually like this much more than the typical Cylindrica. So this is going to be a dwarf plant. It's going to get maybe 12 to 8 inches, 18 inches tall. The coloration on it, as you can tell, has the nice little dark splotches. It's kind of reminiscent of the just the snake theme. So I do like this plant quite a lot. And you can see this is just 3 little plants in here, a small little pot. This is going to take a very long time to fill out, so you can enjoy this plant for a very long time. Now, being darker, it's going to be more of a lower light, okay? So typically a brighter leaf, more variegated leaves in other plant species, you can kind of identify that with a higher light requirement. So this being darker would be perfect for a kitchen or maybe a bathroom, like a shelf in your bathroom, something like that. Let it dry out completely between waterings. Do not waterlog it. I like to just soak them down maybe like once a month and then let them dry out completely, and they do just fine. So please do not overwater these plants if you want them to thrive. Okay, so this variety here is called the golden Hanii. Okay, so this is a dwarf, very small, compact plant. So again, with the theme of a compact growing area, doesn't need a very large pot whatsoever. It does form like everything else from the rhizomes and spreads out. But as I mentioned before, look how brightly colored and yellow these leaves are. Okay, now there are several varieties of the Hanii. This one I like the golden color on it. It's much brighter, so it does require a little bit more sunlight. Where I had it previously, it wasn't growing very well at all. I moved this to a kind of indirect into my south-facing window with my other plants over here, and it actually has perked up quite a bit, and it started to spread. It's doing much better. So remember, like I just told you, brighter leaves means brighter light, but does not mean full sun. So it doesn't mean outside in the direct sun, okay? But it can take more direct sunlight than some of the other varieties like I've already showed you. So do consider buying one of these if you like this plant, this coloration, and especially the dwarf nature of it. It's really going to save you some space and allow you to kind of multiply your collection without keeping all of your space being occupied by just one species. So let's see what else I have right over here. Okay, so these 2 varieties, although they may look similar, are very different and have some very different characteristics. Now, first off, this is what is called the samurai. Okay, now this actually will get very big. This is a very young specimen. I just got this, and it is a wonderful plant. It will actually get, like I mentioned, really large, but it's more of a fan shaped. It won't grow straight up. Okay, so it has these nice little crevices and valleys in it. Gives it a little bit of character, and these nice little red, lining on the tip of the leaf there like that does give this a little bit more something to look at. But like I mentioned, this is a very, very young plant. I just got this one, so I'm excited to watch this one grow, but it will get big. Keep that in mind. Typically not in your home setting, so it's not like it's going to grow really fast. It will take years to outgrow this pot, and then you know what, that's a good problem to have, having a nice, amazing giant plant, right? Now this one here is actually the Sansevieria or Dracaena. You see this here? Pangicula. So this means thicker or fleshier leaf, but it's also known affectionately as the walking Sansevieria. But check it out. See, this plant will actually put out little root runners like that will put down, and then we'll grow another plant. We'll grow another plant. We'll grow another plant. And if you can look right here, this is where, again, I just got this recently. This is the runner where this was attached to the mother plant. So the mother plant, imagine being here, will actually run over here, put a new plant down. This puts down roots, starts to grow, and then it puts on a runner here, which will go under the soil and pop up over here with a new plant. So this plant is very young, but again, that is why, especially with something like this, a wide, shallow pot will be much better suited for this because it does give it room to run. Now, I have seen other people do this with what we would call a 2-pot method. So I've shown you this in other plant species propagating wise, but just hear me out. You would put a pot like this of equal size without a plant in it, of course, and you would just let it kind of go. And as the roots kind of reach over the soil, they're going to find, looking for somewhere to go. So it's actually going to penetrate through here and pop up a new plant. So if you can visualize, imagine this plant putting out a nice runner or nice rhizome. It'll go into the soil and a new plant will pop up. And if you want to, you can just cut it off right there, just like they did on this side, have a new plant. Or if you have a big enough planter, maybe you want 2, 3 to kind of fill out a pot. It does give a very, very cool appearance. So if you want to branch out away from just the typical, like the fin type or the blade type snake plants, these are something you really need to check out. There are hundreds of varieties, and we're going to show you one more, the last variety I have for this plant tour, talk about how special it is, and then show you how I'm going to repot it, give you a really quick soil kind of tips about what you want to look for, how you want to do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the final plant of this tour. And I'm very excited to show you what I got. Actually, I just got it today, as a matter of fact, and I've been holding off making this video for this very one special plant. So let's go ahead and finally see what it is. All right, guys, here we are at the last plant. Now, this is one I've been waiting for, and I was not disappointed when I got it. So a lot of times you order stuff online, it shows up and it's really small, or it's bare rooted, or it's just not really the coloration. They took a stock photo and they did not send you exactly the same thing. A little disappointing, right? It's all happened to all of us. But today I was beyond excited. Now this is, and you can still see the paper towel as this was shipped as a bare root specimen. This is a variety of the Sansevieria or Draceana Kirkii variety. Now just check this out. Now this is a beautiful coloration on this. I am just absolutely fascinated with the coloration. I've been waiting for this for a long time. It actually got lost in the mail, so I was kind of sad, hoping it wouldn't get damaged in the cold, as it's kind of had a little cold snap. But you can just tell, this plant has a pretty decent sized root base, but I mean they've really done well about getting it ready for transport, so I'm trying to say. But look at that. Remember how I mentioned this is not a deep rooted plant? Now this plant will actually grow like this in nature, okay? And this part is actually a little bit broken off, so I'm kind of worried this might actually need to come off, but should propagate easily enough in a glass of water. Just keep that in mind. So anyhow, a nice flat pot would be perfect for this right here, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that upstairs right now in the plant room. A little bonus footage about propagating and planting this plant. Okay, so like I promised, we're upstairs in the plant room. Sorry about the echo. It's a common theme for this plant room. However, like I mentioned, you want to get a nice shallow pot. Okay, you don't need a big deep pot for this, especially since it's going to be just transplanting it. The roots are going to take a little bit of time to kind of reacclimate. And once it outgrows the pot, you can always transplant to something bigger. So let's talk about the soil mix. Okay, so the soil mix here is about 1 part organic potting soil, 1 part vermiculite, 1 part perlite, and 1 part some of this. This is actually pumice. Okay, so this actually add a great deal of air to your plant, so it's going to keep it from getting overwatered, as these plants do want that nice free draining soil. So I have my mix already mixed up right here. It's very simple. You see how the plant is laid out right here in a nice radial pattern. Okay, do the best you can, and after that you're just going to kind of go ahead and get it kind of put into the pot here, and then just kind of turn it around. And if you see any roots kind of poking up a little high, just kind of tuck them back in. You can always add a little bit more soil afterwards, but you want to go gently around it. I don't like digging a hole for plants like this. I like just to kind of tap them in, kind of a little bit of shape to it like that. And you don't want to bury this plant super deep. Remember, these are actually growing on the surface, pretty much just below the surface of that matter. So this is what you're really going to want to do. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this plant here, this is kind of a little bit flimsy. So if you have something like a rock or something like that, you could actually put here to kind of prop this up to kind of get it until it's more stabilized, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and try to find a rock, but in the meantime, what you want to do is just going to water this in well. And with all transplants, they're going to go through a lot of transplant shock. Don't put this in full sun. Give it a few days in a nice, moderately lit part of your house. I would try not to do this directly outside if you don't have to. Give it a little bit of moisture. Make sure that the moisture drains out the bottom of the pot. Then just kind of let it go. Don't touch it. Don't re-water it. Don't do anything else like that. You'll be just perfect. All right, so once you get it firmed into the pot, just kind of water in like I mentioned. If you want, you can actually, I recommend kind of adding some stones like this kind of on top. It's just a kind of a top dressing, which is going to help keep the plants in place and also kind of add a little bit of decorativeness to it, but it's also going to help keep, you know, nice compact right there. So it's going to keep the plants from kind of falling over. Now, I finished doing this off camera on my own. So thank you for watching this nice little tour of these snake plants I have here at the Hillside Gardens. If you saw one plant that really blew your mind, leave me a comment down below which one it was. Give this video a nice big thumbs up, and I'll see you next time here at the Hillside, guys. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.